Hello, one and all. Welcome to another episode of MMA Visionalysis. We're going to talk about Ilia Topuria, Max Holloway, and the recent interesting interview between the two. Interview which saw a lot of back and forth. We're going to address some of Ilia Topuria's comments in this one. But before getting started, make sure to like, subscribe, click that notification to get all of this that is new from this channel. Your channel, the one and only MMA Visionalysis. We spoke about it in previous video. We talked about how Ilia Topuria is a person that has many opinions, and he's not shy to voice his opinions. At the end of the day, this is entertainment business, and in order for you to draw the crowds in, you have to be a captivating figure. Captivating does not mean that you always have to be the good guy. Speaking of good guy, bad guy, this is a perfect example of that, because you got one person leaning into the bad guy role, which I think it's a very calculated move from a guy like Ilia Topuria, the foxy Ilia Topuria, fox-like the way he thinks. I think that is a strategy. I think he's aware of what he's doing precisely, and there is a method to the madness, so to say. Now, as I said, it's not the first time that Ilia makes remarks like the ones that he made against Max Holloway. We spoke about it. Ilia Topuria loves provoking responses. And a part of that is the art of getting into your opponent's head. All warfare is based off deception. I believe that's like the first thing that Sun Tzu said in The Art of War. So, Ilia Topuria trying to intimidate Max Holloway before the fight even starts. I do understand that the guy has tremendous technique. He can actually back up what he says with performances. After all, he did knock out Alexander Volkanovski, formerly known as pound for pound greatest fighter on the planet. Did it in spectacular fashion, obviously. Not going to go into the details of what Alexander Volkanovski was dealing with during those times and what he was coming out off of. I think most people are aware of the situation, but we're talking about the upcoming title bout in the featherweight division. That is UFC 308's main event. It's going to take place in the Middle East, Abu Dhabi, I want to say. I'm very that's also one very interesting thing. I'm kind of surprised that it's taking place in Abu Dhabi. I'm surprised that Max Holloway agreed to such thing, but obviously he's not the A side in this situation, and Spain is a lot closer to Abu Dhabi than it is to America, so I guess that would make sense for Max Holloway as well, traveling from Hawaii to the Middle East. It's a long trip, but I guess not being the A side, you're going to have to do whatever the A side wants to do. So in this case, it is Ilia Topuria, the smart Ilia Topuria. And in the recent interview, Ilia Topuria claims that he will be the first fighter to actually knock out Max Holloway. Obviously, the guy's never been actually finished. He has been defeated, for sure. And in the fights against Alexander Volkanovski, Max Holloway almost looked helpless at certain points, but not really throughout the duration of the fight. It's just that Alexander Volkanovski was peak during those times, and obviously those fights favored Volka. Certain parts of those fights heavily favored Volka. And I did say that he did look helpless certain parts of those fights. That being said, he's never been knocked out. Ilia Topuria claims to be the first fighter to have will be the first fighter to knock out a Max Holloway. Now, that is saying a lot, and I talk about it. We talked about it yesterday in a video. We spoke about how this can be a double-edged sword. Obviously, your confidence leading into fights and saying such thing, the guy has to have tremendous confidence. We did mention that this can only work if you're winning. If you're not winning, there is no room for such things. So, and also this, as we said, can provoke two different kinds of responses from your opponent. You can actually intimidate your opponent and actually get to your opponent's head, or with certain characters, you're going to do exactly the opposite. You're going to motivate those characters to beat you even more, because you're giving them that much more reason to be motivated to actually defeat you. I get the feeling that that's the kind of response that he got from Max Holloway. I think that Max was extremely stoic, at least in the beginning stages of that interview, and it seems like he's taken Ilia Topuria pretty serious, as he should. Ilia is a dangerous fighter, has the power to put you out. Just look at what he did to Volka. People don't really do that to Volka. I do understand it happened when he stepped up and weighed when he faced Islam Makhachev. That's a different weight class that doesn't really, I don't want to say it doesn't translate directly. Obviously, it's all the fighting game, and we've seen featherweights knock out lightweights. Just look at what Bruno Silva did not too long ago. But what I'm trying to say here is that, Alexander Volkanovski had a situation, and that's a situation that happens every now and then. The first fight between the two, I believe Volkanovski was robbed. That being said, very interested to see what happens the night of UFC 308. I believe this fight is close. It's very hard to imagine who's going to win this fight. Obviously, in every fight, there is a puncher's chance. And both of these guys have the power to put one another away. I mean, Topuria put away Volkanovski last fight. And Max Holloway, speaking of knocking out lightweights, knocked out Justin Gaethje, formerly known as #1 title contender in that lightweight division. One of the toughest fighters on the planet. Impressive to say the least. That's why he is BMF champ. Now, BMF versus featherweight. Who does this fight favor? According to Ilia Topuria, he'll be the first to knock out Max Holloway. Will this actually happen? Only time will tell. But I believe in both guys. And I believe in Max Holloway's ability to, I wouldn't say pull the upset, but certainly surprise Ilia Topuria. Max Holloway's boxing skills are exceptional, not to take anything away from current featherweight champion Ilia Topuria. If you made it this far, appreciate you for sticking around. Please let me know what you think in the comments and subscribe for more.